this. My friends, welcome. We have got, it is week 8, lecture 2. That means that we have this one and then tomorrow's lecture, and then we're done. Wild. Wow, I cannot believe 8 weeks has already flown by. It's been so fun. It's been such a joy to be your instructor and just to teach and to learn from you guys as well. Like I learned a lot this stack as well. So thank you guys for that. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Just as a reminder, discussion questions are due today. Core assignments are due today. All of you guys, I think, in here are good to go. I've already sent an email to everybody that is missing anything. So if you're missing anything, you've already heard from me. And you've also received an email from me if you are good to go. So if anybody feels like they're in limbo and they don't know where they're at and they haven't received anything from me, check your junk mail or then email me immediately and I can let you know. But everything is due today. Belt exam retake codes. All belt exams have been graded. You guys crushed it. Very, 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 very well done. We don't have anybody that's needing to retake because of a belt. So great job. That is awesome. That is very, very unique. So great job there. Cool. Again, I emailed you your current status. So if you got the email that you're good to go, then be prepared. You'll have today and tomorrow that you can kind of relax, do some class stuff. Tomorrow, remember, we're going to talk about some kind of career stuff, things that I would say looking forward, what I would do, how I would start thinking through some career stuff, some certain things to utilize, some tools to use. And so that is here. And that'll be our last class. So this end of stack career tips and tricks would be great. If you guys don't mind entertaining me for a bit, I know that you guys hate, and I get it, people hate surveys, but it does help me out. I'm going to put this in chat. If you guys could do this end of stack survey, this is something that I use and my boss uses for me just to kind of see how am I doing, gauging how am I doing as an instructor. Again, as always, if you have constructive feedback, that is welcome. Just please at least, give some feedback. If you give me a low score and then no feedback, that doesn't help anything because I don't know what I can work on. And I always want to be working on things. And if you did find this class entertaining, not only entertaining, but you learned something, it also was really helpful for me to see that too. And for bosses to see that. So if you guys could take just a couple minutes, well, I'll kind of pause the, I will pause the lecture or the recording and then just take, I'm supposed to give you guys like 5 minutes, but I'll give you like 3 minutes, 5 minutes to do that. And then we will continue with class. Okay, wonderful. Thanks, friends, for doing that. We are recording again. We just did our end of stack survey that's now in Discord as well. So if you're watching the recording, please go see that in Discord. There's some music that we listened to in class to fill it out, to get us in a good mood. So feel free to do that. And the music's in there as well. It's in our Discord channel. So please, please, please go do that. That's really helpful. Cool. Just want to, again, walk through what the next steps are. You guys were here. We're finishing this front end piece. We're going to have this authentication. We'll be able to log in and just go to our dashboard, but then we'll be able to see how we use this middleware called Authenticate to make sure that a user is logged in before they can access any part of our platform or our certain things like that. So we'll be able to do that. That'll be today. And then tomorrow we're going to have an end of stack career tips and tricks. I'm going to kind of walk through just what I would do. You guys have, especially if you're 4 weeks out, if you have another stack, that's great. This is still going to be information for you to know, for you to start preparing for things that I wish I would have known, things that I wish people would have told me, or things that I learned along the way. And I'll even have, I'll do some work on bringing up actual like real time. Here are some job openings that are currently open that maybe you don't think about, or in different tools and tips to like when you're negotiating, what does this mean? That kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of stuff like what is equity? How do you deal with that? Equity versus options. What is a 25% cliff? Do we care more about equity over base pay? Obviously this is like my opinion. So it's not on behalf of Coding Dojo, but things that I've had to negotiate and learn along the way when you're getting hired on a company and they're offering you way more equity. Why are they offering you way more equity compared to, a base pay or a salary or anything like that? So things to just think about and do. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Should be fun. It's unique. I've never done one of these, so I think it'll be cool. We don't have a career talk, so I don't know. This is just gonna be office hour. But yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow, and then again, we'll look at some actual job openings and job postings and things that I would look at and do. And just hopefully open up your mind that there are a couple things out there that are not necessarily just dev work, that you can get paid a lot of money and do some fun things also, because money's not everything, but doing what your life looks like. So just some experiences there. So that's what we'll do tomorrow. Any questions on what's left, what's next, where we should go, where we're going, what we're doing, anything like that? Yo, cool. Great. So let's just jump in. Let's talk about what we did yesterday. So yesterday, we've already done the back end. We've done that. We did that for like 2 lectures. And yesterday was pretty simple. Today's going to be pretty simple as well. All we did was we created 2 components, right? So we set up our entire front end. We went into our app.js. We did our browser router, or sorry, our index.js. We talked about browser router. We set up some routes. And the reason we have gone through this a little bit slower is this just consistently is a thing when I'm grading exams. That's where students are getting a little bit confused. So I just want to make sure that you guys really have a good grasp on this, because if you can do this, then you can kind of expand into the more advanced things. But if you can't do this, the advanced things are going to be way more advanced and a little bit harder to understand. So we've done that. We've created 2 different aspects or 2 different components. We have our register form and our dashboard. What is currently happening with our register form is it's just like a normal form. We are using use navigate. So after they register, they're getting navigated to our dashboard. We did put state as this object. I prefer to do it this way. You can have it as an individual piece of state. That is fine. One thing I want to bring up is here, these names, and I saw this sometimes on the exam, these names are important because if you don't handle this correctly and you got these as like F name, L name, E for email and password, then whenever it's going to the model and we're passing this information, because that's what we're doing right here, right? Then that's not going to be able to match, right? Because it doesn't know and associate our attribute of our model with what's being passed through. So making sure that these are matching is important when we're passing those over. And then secondly, what we did is we added our with credentials true, because now, because we have a cookie, right, and we're handling these credentials and this authentication and authorization, we need to be able to pass that over. So now we're going to add in our with credentials true. So we did that, made just a basic form where we've got a submit handler. We then just once it was submitted, we went and checked and said, okay, cool. Does this work? Great, it does. We are good to go. So now let's build out our login. That's all we have really left, is we need to build out our login. We're going to talk about the authenticate middleware that we've already created. We did that yesterday as well. This was on our back end, though. It wasn't on our front end. Let me pull this client, so it's way easier. Here we have this JWT config, and we created or have this authenticate. This is just a way that we can make sure that a user is logged in. They have a cookie. They've been authenticated before they can move on and even view anything. So they can't just go to like, they can't hard code some sort of like if we go to log in like this guy, if I wanted to hard code this, right? If I don't do this check, right? If I have access to this, I don't have this check, right, to make sure that my user's logged in, then in theory, anybody could just go to this and bring up this page, which obviously wouldn't be good for Coding Dojo, because then everybody would get the curriculum for free, and then you wouldn't come and pay for the program and do all that, because they could watch the videos as long as they had access to that. So that's what we're preventing, is them just being able to hard code and check in, because then somebody eventually would just create a website basically that just links to it. And then again, so you want to make sure that, and you want to protect your user from being able to create certain things. So we'll see how that authenticate now works. Really, this is all we have to do, is we bring it in up here, bring in up this authenticate, and then we pass it into whenever we want to get, like if we want to get all users or all companies or all anything before, if we want to say before somebody can do this, we have to make sure that they're logged in. Then they have to do this guy. Obviously, we don't want to do it on register and login because register and login is what gives us our cookie, right? So if they have to be authenticated to log in or authenticated to register, it's never going to work because they can't register or log in without being authenticated, but they won't be authenticated unless they register or log in. So being able to handle that is what we're going to look at today. So we got some login. All we have to do, we've already done the backend stuff, right? We've already handled our async await. We've already checked to make sure, is there a user that has this email? And this is something that I know was some questions, is how do we make sure, like in the exam, part of it was make sure something is unique. This is exactly how we do that, right? We would just say, cool, find one. And if that returns something, this one says if user equals null, meaning there is no email, then we return, there's an error, right? You're trying to log in with an email that doesn't work. But let's actually look at our code because we did a little bit different. Do this in our controllers. Cool. So we checked and said, cool, if we get a user back, meaning that there's a user in our database, then we're going to grab that user and we're going to run this passwords match. We have to, again, use bcrypt to compare the two, the one that the user's now putting in through their form, and then the one that's in the database. We have to use, we have to use bcrypt so that way it can use its own hash. And then we say, cool, now if the passwords match, now we create this token. So we've done the hard part for the login. So now we should just be able to pass in some information or create a component for login, and we should be able to be good to go. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's come in here. We're going to go into our components and we're going to just call this maybe login form.jsx. Perfect. I'm going to do RAFCE, find out what it means to me. Perfect. Cool. Now, there's a couple things we're going to use. So let's just, and it can look fairly similar, to be honest, to our register, because we're not going to use everything there, but we're going to use a lot of it, right? So I'm going to need to bring in Axios. I'm going to use navigate because I'm going to want to navigate after, and I'm going to do this. So I'm actually just going to copy and paste. One thing to note, when you're copy and pasting, please make sure you know what you're copy and pasting. If you copy and paste and things break and you have no idea because you've never used it, that is going to be an issue. So please make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. So I'm going to say const navigate, use navigate, right? Because I know that once our user logs in, similar to how whenever they're registered, once all the functionality, they get their cookie, we're going to navigate them to our dashboard. That makes sense to me. So we're going to use that. Now we're going to say const user info. So same sort of thing. That's okay because this is not lifted state, and this is bound just to this component, and that's fine. But we're just going to say email and we're going to say password, and that's it. We don't need first name. We don't need confirm password because they're already in our database. Confirm password is only for when they're registering. First name and last name, same thing. We're just going to use our email and our password as our, like within our form, right? So let's go ahead and build that. And then we'll deal with like change handler and stuff like that, which will be the exact same, to be honest. So we're gonna have a form. Wow, this is insane that Copilot literally has like learned that I like to do call medium 6 and MX auto. The future is here, man. Cool. So we have our form. We're gonna have an H3 that says login, div form group, labels email, input type is email. This is going to give us some front end validations that basically, but it isn't some sort of like regex or anything. It's just basic input validations. Form control, name email, user info email, change handler. Cool. We haven't created a change handler yet. So unique that it's already given that, but it knows that we're going to create that. And then I'm just going to have a div. Oh, I think it's getting confused. There we go. Cool. Just one group. I would say now, since you guys have already passed your belt exam, right? And especially if you're going to go into projects and algorithms, this is the time you can start using Copilot. I think you get 60 days for free. So that's something to think about. But always, 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 Copilot is great. It is not everything, right? It does mess up. I have trusted it to a point at times where I've written a whole bunch of stuff and then it took me a lot of time to then go debug it because it was incorrect. So if you guys saw, not only was I'm allowing it to auto kind of fill for me, but I always want to make sure that I can check it and know exactly what's going on, that the type is email, that I have some sort of information there. Cool. Cool. So we got a label for password. It's going to be type password for name password, user.info password. It's going to be the same sort of thing. I need to finish my div. Perfect. I'm going to do this because great. And then we're just going to have a button btn primary mt3 because it knows that I like to have my margin top 3. And then let's go ahead and end our form. Cool. And I need to close my div first and foremost. Thank you. Great. So my form should be complete. MX Auto, we don't have a submit handler and we don't have a change handler, but my button should be good. Name, password, email, user info, password, user info, email, change handler. Okay, cool. Great. So let's go build those. So we're going to say const. I'm going to come here though. Const change handler. It takes in an event, our set user info. We're going to spread out our information. Again, can anybody tell me why we spread out information? Just a pulse check. Why do we need to use the spread operator there?
So that way it keeps all the other information that you're not updating.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Robert. Because we're just using one handler, right? If we weren't using a handler, then, I mean, in theory, we wouldn't even have this, right? Because we are, because we're using one handler and because we have it built like this, because it's one object. If we had these broken out piece by piece, we wouldn't need this change handler. And I have seen some students try to do a change handler with these individualized. You can't use them that way. Doesn't work. So we use a change handler when we put this as an object. Because this is an object, we can use this here and we are good to go. What's this saying? Cool. Great. So we got that. Now I need my submit handler. Oh yeah, I need to close out my brackets. I always forget my change handler bracket. That's like I can't spell the word function and I can't remember my change handler bracket. Cool. So we have our submit handler, prevent default. That's awesome. We have our axios.post, localhost 8000 API/login. We're passing our user info. Let's go and check to see if that's true. We also need to, we already have that built. Oh, we need to do a few things. We need to first make sure, this is what I wanted. And my server, is that the API? Again, this is part of just using Copilot. Let's go ahead and make sure that this is part of, or this is the route that we need to go to. So 8000 API. See, this is API/users/login. So that was immediately going to give me an error, right? So this is what I'm talking about for us checking our code and making sure Copilot, though our AI overlords can do no wrong. In this case, they did. So let's go fix it. Perfect. Now, because we have this, I need to put with credentials true because we're handling these cookies, right? Great. I have my .then. I have this response where I'm going to just console log, navigate to dashboard. Cool. Else, I'm going to catch an error. I'm going to close this up and we are good to go. Cool. So just as a recap of what this is doing, we've got this form. It's got a submit handler that's going to go to Axios post. It's a post request because that's what we've got here in our routes, right? We have this post request of API/users/login. Copilot did not catch that. It did not catch that there is a users login. So that is important to know. So don't always trust it or else you're going to get in there. Cool. So we have that. And then we have a change handler. So every time this is changing, this is all not new for us. So we are good to go there. We should have access and we should know all of that stuff. Cool. So login form is done. Now, in order for us to test it, let's do a couple things. We have to go here. We have to go to our route. And I'm just gonna say path. So one thing to note, I just want to say this is a new piece of information. If you just have this asterisk, you want to put this at the end of all your routes. But this is basically going to catch and say, if that route is not found, here's what I want you to get back. Here's where you might have like a component. And actually, we'll build that real fast. So we'll just build a not found.jsx. And we'll do rese. Cool. And then we don't need anything other than a like H1 that says something like, uh-oh, you got to a spot, a page that doesn't exist. Please check your route again. Cool, little cat. That'll be fun. Cool. So this is all we're doing is this not found. That's all we are going to do here is just have this H1. But now if I come down here, instead of doing this, H1 right there, let's just do our not found. Perfect. It brought it up right there. Let's get this started so we can see it. So let's see where lecture 3. So I need another terminal. Oh, bummer. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. Cool. Weird. I know mine has been very weird. Oh, it's because I deleted all of my that's why. It's because I deleted everything for GitHub yesterday. Sick, we love all these. Yep. Cool. Okay, cool. So here's our register. This is our base route, right? We don't have anything dashboard. We have this not found now. So if I just say /unicorn, I don't have that. It should bring up a, uh-oh, you got to page that doesn't exist. Please check your route again. So now this is just a catch-all. This is what we built, right? This is catch-all. If I were to put this up at the top, it's going to just take the first thing, right? So it's going to break all of my code. So make sure if you do a catch-all, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily yeah. So if you're going to do this, make sure you do this at the end, right? At the very below, or else it's just going to automatically, once it hits this, then it automatically is going to go there no matter what. It takes in anything. So cool. But we don't want to do that. We want to do our route. And then I'm going to say path route. I'm going to say path equals. And I'm just going to call this login. Login. And then this is not going to be this. This is going to be our login form. Perfect. It brought it in. That's great. So now if I come here and I take out unicorn, I say login, we get our login page. Now this is the moment of truth. If things work, let's check our inspect. Let's check our application. We don't have any cookies. So now if I say, ooh, I can't even remember what I had. Check this. Nope, there's an error. Wrong one. Bad request. Cool. Cool. So I used password and not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. So now I was able to log in. Components, not components, sorry. I was able to log in and let's see, we should have a cookie and now we do. So now our login and our register are functioning, right? But what I would say is it kind of doesn't make sense to have it slash register slash log or just kind of slash. And this is our register. And then we have our login on the other, right? So what I would probably do is I would say, let's go ahead and build out a new component. Yeah. We're gonna call this reg log.jsx. And what this is just gonna be this guy. And all we're gonna do is we've got this as a, I'm gonna call this as a dot row, class name dot row. And then with that, I'm gonna have a, going to bring in my register form. And then I'm also going to bring in my login form. And because they're both column medium 6, what that tells me is that they should be side by side. One thing I'll probably have to do is get rid of this MX auto. Actually, let's test it. I don't think this will work, but now this is just bringing in reg log will be one, just bringing in both components for us. And this will be, if I had anything, if I wanted to add a nav or anything like that, I can just interchange these components. Again, this is the power of component-based creation. And so let's do this. Let's go back to my routes. And instead of this, let's bring this as reg log. Bring that in. And so now, yeah, so they're on top of each other because I did MX auto. Let's go to my login form and get rid of that. Cool. Let's go to my, not my dashboard, my register form. What that was doing is because they were both MX auto, they weren't allowed to be side by side. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. And let's do 4.
Could you do like display flex on the log reg form?
They
Justify
should
content?
have, so I don't need to do this. I shouldn't have to do display flex
Or could you
on
use a
the,
container?
because I had this row. So that means they should be a row as long as they fit. So let's see. No, side by side. I'm wondering if because I'm bringing in this component, let's inspect it. Got some time. So this guy is here. So this is acting as a div, which then is taking up the entire thing when I'm calling the component. It's rows 100%, that's fine. But this guy, row should take up 100%. But I'm display block. Because I have this div. Though it should have been taken care of because it was that and this. This main guy. Let's see. Anybody have any thoughts? What I'm wanting to see is, this is a JSX element. So I'm wanting to see if I can add in. Should have messed around with this, because what's happening is this, because it's this, is being converted from a JSX side because this is a div. So I wonder if I say class, let's test it. Class name, column 4. That makes it even smaller, but then this is also that. Let's try this. Okay, there we go. So this could be, I need this. Yeah. Okay, so the issue was my class was just on my form, but this div was acting like a block. And so what I could do is get rid of this. And then I want a little bit of space. So then now we have register and login. And then I'm going to say register is going to be offset 1. Perfect. So cool. Now we've got this on the same page. So this looks a lot better, in my opinion, and works a lot better because we don't want to have, to, take some information. And so now we can build them on the same page, which is awesome. So let's see. Cool. So I'm wondering though, let's see what happens here. So if I say Marley, Cal, MC at CETA. Might have wrecked this all up. Cool. Nope. Works just great. Cool. So we can go to the dashboard, and now it works. They're all the same. They're all the same page. So we are good to go. If we log out, we go back here, everything works perfectly fine. Cool. So now we have eliminated the need to have different pages for our different forms. We have them all at the one. Cool. Now, we don't have anything else that's going on here, right? We don't have anything that, like, right now we have users, but we don't have like users and movies. We don't have that. But let's say we did. Let's say that we had something in our backend that was other than users. We had a totally different model, right? Where I guess we got 12 minutes or 15 minutes. We can kind of go try to build something real quick. Our client. So if we got a model, let's create, what should we create? Maybe a movie model.js. Do that. And then let's just go ahead and take all of this. Well, I just need mongoose, I guess. Const mongoose equals require mongoose. Cool. We're going to do a movie schema. We'll do a title, string, required, min length, perfect, genre, string, min length, perfect. We'll do, this will be the last one, and then we will, I don't want to do that. And then I think we go timestamps. Was true. Perfect. What am I missing here? Oh, one more curly bracket. Yep. Perfect. So now we've got this model here. Let's go ahead and export it. On Smoothie is that. We have a controller. We're going to call this movie dot controller. Controller.js. And again, it's just going to sort of model our user controller, except we don't need a lot of this stuff. So we actually don't need this other than we need a const movie, right? So we say const movie equals require movie module exports. We're going to get all. We'll just have this guy right here. This is perfect. And then we are done to go there. And then we need to do our, that's it, because we're doing module exports this way. Perfect. So movie controller is done. We're just going to do like a get all. Don't have anything in there. And then if we wanted to have a route. So movie dot routes .js. Gonna look just like this, where we've got a movie controller. So const movie controller equals require movie controller. Perfect. Should be good to go there. That's all I need, right? In order for me to kind of get this stuff up and running, we just have an API/movies get all. Cool. So the reason we're doing that is we're just wanting to make sure that we can emulate what it would be like if we had something else. We don't have anything in our actual database. I guess I could go in and make a, let me bring up Postman. And then we'll actually make a movie. And then that way we can use that. And then we can bring that in. So what I'm wanting to show is once we have this up and running, don't save. Perfect. So I've got a movie. I need my movie model. See what I need. So I need title, which is a string, genre, and year, which is a number. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to API/movie, I think. API/movies. So let's do a post request. Just gonna do a new one. Post request to localhost 8000/API/movies. Perfect. We're gonna have, we don't need any auth body. It's gonna be raw JSON. And then what I'm gonna have is I'm going to say title. We'll just do the one and only Shrek. We have genre and say comedy. Perfect. And then we're going to say year. And 2003. Perfect. Let's make our request. Got an error 404 not found. Localhost 8000 API/movies. Localhost 8000 API/movies. Movie controller get all. Oh, duh, because I don't have a post request. We've done this in 5 minutes so far. So we'll see if we can do this guy. Cool. Now, if I run this. Still an issue. Localhost 8000 API/movies. 404 not found. Movie.create rec.body. new movie, JSON movies, something went wrong. We're not getting that. So it's telling me API/movies, API post. Anybody see my error? We're close to 8,000 API/movies. Body, raw, JSON. Cannot post API movies. Did my server crash? Nope. Exported that. We required Mongoose. We then go to our controller. Bring that in. Movie.find, movie.create. Then new movie. Return that movie. Else something went wrong. We're not getting this. So I'm getting something in my movie.routes. Forgetting something? No.
Did we add anything to our server about requiring that?
There it is. Thank you. Acquire movie routes, Robert. You're the GOAT,
It
dude.
was, it was a stab in the dark, man.
Oh, movie.create is not a function, but it's a different error, so that's always good. Movie.create is a function though. So let's see.
Is that because it's nested in the module exports in the controller?
No, because that's how our so to bring this controller up. Request response, comma. That's how we have it here. Same sort of thing, right? I don't think I have to. I don't think I have to do a try catch, but I can try it. Hmm. This doesn't make sense. Okay. I'm going on a rabbit hole of things that not the point of what I'm trying to teach. Okay. So what I'm trying to teach is let's hypothetically say, because I tried to make that in 9 minutes and that was an entire backend. So obviously I messed up and did something incorrectly though. But let's say that we did have all of these movies, right? We had this entire database of movies and we're wanting to make sure that before, like this is sensitive information, right? So we're wanting to make sure that before somebody can even get there, before they can actually just use that, we want to make sure that they're logged in. All we're going to do, and this is coming straight from our platform as well, and this is our authorization and middleware, is we have this middleware that we created yesterday, right? We did a little bit different because we utilized .env. So instead of having our secret key here and doing it like this, that's kind of stupid to do it this way and then this way. We just did our .env. And then from there, we created this function called authenticate. And this is a function that we can do. This is some middleware that's saying, hey, before this happens, let's make sure that we handle that. The way that will work is in our actual routes. So not in our front end. I'm going to close that up. But in our actual routes, if I wanted to do that, I would have some sort of authenticate. It's not going to work because we don't have a controller right now. But this authenticate would then make sure that our user is logged in before they access this. Yes, we could even do it. We'll just do it with this guy. So we have it here. Sure. Well, we don't have a get all, so I don't have it. But if we had something, let's say that we want to see all users or had some sort of admin piece, we could just use that authenticate. What that's going to do is before it runs, before it like here, before it actually goes into our movie controller and runs this get all method, it stops and says, okay, wait a second. I'm going to come here. We'd have to bring it in. So we'd say const authenticate require JWT config token. And so what that's going to do is it's going to get to this guy, and it's actually like adding another function, the same way that whenever we have front end validations and we had our validator, we say, hey, before you actually write to the database or make this call, let's check something real quick before you can even get to that point. This is exactly what that's doing. Our middleware, which we created here in our JWT config, creates this, and then it goes and it verifies that the cookies that we have plus the secret, which is our .env, the same secret is what we use in our user controller, right? When we use this sign, this secret here is the same thing, right? So it's taking that. You can kind of think about it like bcrypt, how it has that specific hashing algorithm, right? And it's comparing the two. What that's doing is it's doing the same thing, is it's taking that token. It's also taking the same secret and decrypting it and saying, are these the same? Are they verified, or is this person actually logged in? Do we have a cookie that verifies that information? And so that's what that authenticate is doing, is it's saying, cool, we are verifying that the user token and the user cookies, which is, if I were to go here, this guy in our application, because I broke the server, and so it's not running. So that's it. But is this cookie that is broken down, is that, does that match, right? With our secret, does that match? And then we have that payload that we talked about yesterday, which if that does match, cool, what information do we want to have access to? Well, we said, okay, we want to have access to the user ID and the user email, right? So it gives us that payload back. And then it says, cool, you're good to go. And then it moves on to that next piece, right? It moves on to, in that case, it'd move on to this get all. So this is just a way that we can prevent things from happening. There might be part of our website that is free for anybody, or you could think about like ChatGPT 4 is only for plus users. So there is some sort of authentication piece. There's some sort of cookie or token associated to me when I'm logged in that then shows GPT-4 and shows me and allows me to use that. But if I'm not verified, if I'm not authenticated, then I can't do that. And so this is a way that we can actually build in some sort of security, if you will, because what will happen is right now, if we don't have that, even if I were to right now, cool, looks like I have to log in. But if I'm not logged in, there's not a cookie, but I just put dashboard, it's going to go to welcome to dashboard, right? That's not something we want to do. That's not something we want to be able to have. So that's where this authentication, comes from. Also, yes, Gray, we're such developers when we make progress with a new error. Absolutely. If you got a new error, that's good. That's a win. That's different. That's just a different problem. No longer, no longer an error. So cool. So then all of a sudden we are fully able to utilize authorization and middleware and authentication. We have, just as a recap, we have taken our product. We have done a few different things. We've got first off, we'll just start in our model. Just to recap real quickly, we have this confirmed password. That is our virtual attribute. We validate that those are true. We hash our password. This is all new stuff that we did. Then in our controller, we introduced a web token, right? That expires in 1 day. It lasts for a day. That token consists of the ID and the email. It's awesome. We introduced secret keys and .env files that have these secret keys. And now we can use those to prevent people from going back and forth on our website. Only if they're authenticated can they do that. Are there any questions? That's all I have. We're fully done with our front end, and we're able to put we're able to call our two components on the same page. Any questions on that? Well, great. That is the last lecture that you guys are going to learn some coding material for MERN, at least. You're not done yet, but last lecture from me that you have to deal with me fumbling around and being like, what the heck? Or, oh, I got plenty of time overthinking my skills once again. But if there's any questions, happy to answer that. If not, we're at time anyway. So I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will stick around tomorrow. Again, we will be having our kind of tips and tricks, going through different things for us to look at, or for you to look at for careers, some encouragement. I don't know that it'll last the full hour. Might just hang out and be there if you guys need for anything that is necessary. It's also opening day tomorrow, so good luck with that. That's awesome. So other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you soon.